Captain Ibrahim Traore was born in 1988 in Bondokai, a town in the Bukal du Mahoun region of Burkina Faso. He comes from a modest background and is known to be a devout Muslim. As a child, Traore excelled in his studies, particularly in science, which eventually led him to pursue higher education in geology at the University of Ouagadougou. However, his ambition and sense of patriotism drew him toward a military career. In 2010, Traore joined the Burkinabe Army. He trained at the Georges Namono Military Academy in Pay, one of the country's most prestigious military institutions. His performance was notable, and he quickly gained a reputation as a disciplined, committed, and principled officer. Over the next several years, he climbed the ranks and participated in numerous anti-terrorism operations across the Sahel region, including missions in northern Burkina Faso, where jihadist insurgencies had destabilized entire communities. By 2020, Traore had joined the elite Cobra Special Forces unit, which was formed to combat terrorism and insurgency in the country. His experience on the battlefield and his growing disillusionment with the political leadership made him increasingly critical of how the government was handling the national security crisis. Many soldiers, including Traore, felt that corruption, poor leadership, and lack of support from the central government were undermining their efforts. This military background, combined with his integrity and a strong connection with fellow junior officers, positioned Traore as a natural leader among the ranks. His experiences in the front lines shaped his perspective on national leadership, security, and sovereignty, planting the seeds for what would become a major political upheaval in Burkina Faso. By 2022, he was seen as a promising but relatively unknown officer that was about to change. The country's deteriorating security and economic conditions created a power vacuum Traore would soon step into, unexpectedly capturing the attention of the entire world. In late September 2022, Burkina Faso was once again thrust into political turmoil. Discontent was brewing within the military ranks, due to the government's failure to control the rising jihadist violence that had displaced nearly 2 million people and claimed thousands of lives. At that time, the country was already under military rule, following a coup in January 2022 led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba. However, Damiba's administration had made little progress in resolving the security crisis. Captain Ibrahim Traore, who had grown increasingly critical of Damiba's leadership, emerged as the central figure in a second coup. On September 30, 2022, Traore led a faction of junior officers in ousting Damiba. The coup was swift and relatively bloodless, and Traore was declared the new head of the Patriotic Movement for Safeguard and Restoration (MPSR). The ruling junta, Traore, justified the coup by citing the government's failure to tackle terrorism and protect civilians. In his first address to the nation, he promised to restore national security, end corruption, and reclaim Burkinabe sovereignty. Unlike his predecessors, Traore received considerable grassroots support, particularly from the youth who were frustrated with years of instability and perceived foreign interference. International reactions were mixed. The Economic Community of West African States (ECOWAS) and the African Union condemned the coup, but stopped short of imposing immediate sanctions. Meanwhile, many Burkinabe citizens rallied behind Traore, viewing him as a new kind of leader, young, brave, and untainted by the politics of the past. Within weeks, Traore began restructuring the military command and launched new offensives against jihadist groups. He also distanced Burkina Faso from France, a longtime colonial and military partner, signaling a shift toward greater national independence and regional cooperation, particularly with Mali and Niger. At just 34 years old, Traore became the world's youngest head of state. His rise symbolized both a generational change in leadership and the deep desire of the Burkinabe people for genuine transformation. However, the challenges ahead remained formidable. Since taking power in 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traore has positioned himself not merely as a transitional leader, but as a revolutionary figure determined to reshape Burkina Faso's future. He has consistently emphasized sovereignty, security, and anti-imperialism as the cornerstones of his governance. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso has taken several bold steps to redefine its alliances, politics, and national identity. One of Traore's most controversial decisions was the complete severance of military ties with France, including the expulsion of French troops and the end of French military cooperation. Instead, Traore pivoted toward regional alliances, forging stronger ties with Mali and Niger, countries also ruled by military governments opposed to Western influence. Together, these nations have promoted a Pan-African vision centered on mutual defense, resource control, and regional autonomy. Domestically, Traore launched a national recruitment campaign to bolster the ranks of the military and civilian defense groups. Thousands of young Burkinabe volunteered to fight, reflecting growing nationalistic sentiment. However, critics argue that the country still struggles with limited resources, weak infrastructure, and sporadic violence from terrorist groups, particularly in the north and east. Traore's administration also began to nationalize some natural resources, especially in the gold mining sector, aiming to ensure that Burkina Faso benefits directly from its wealth. This move was praised by many, but raised concerns among foreign investors. Nonetheless, Traore's rhetoric of self-reliance and economic justice continues to resonate with a large segment of the population. Yet, challenges remain immense, humanitarian needs are soaring, and the displacement crisis continues. The country's institutions are still fragile, and democratic norms have been put on hold. Though Traore insists that a return to civilian rule will occur, he has not set a clear timeline. Despite the obstacles, Ibrahim Traore's leadership has injected new energy into Burkina Faso's political discourse. Whether he will succeed in fulfilling his revolutionary promises or become another figure in the cycle of coups remains an open question, but for now, he stands as a symbol of defiance and hope in a nation searching for stability.